What is poppin', y'all? Welcome to Thoughts and Takes. I'm DeAndre.
And I'm Jacob, and this is where we talk sports, news, and the moments everyone is reacting to from the fan perspective.
We're not here to chase headlines or manufacture any takes.
We're here to talk through how things actually land, why people care, and where the conversation really is.
And where the conversation is today, January 6th, 2026, is John Harbaugh just got fired, man. What's poppin' with your team, man? What y'all doing, man? What y'all doing?
I guess this is where we start off the episode. The Ravens lost in brutal fashion to the Steelers on a Tyler Loop missed field goal. We'll get to my opinions on that later, but we're here to talk about the firing. And the first thing that this screams to me is that John Harbaugh didn't get fired because he was not a good enough coach. He got fired because the Ravens felt it was time to move on. John Harbaugh was in Baltimore for 18 long years, which led to much success. And Harbaugh was a great coach, but I think that the Ravens organization felt it was time for a switch up at the helm. It is unfortunate to see him go. I actually didn't want him fired. I wanted to keep Harbaugh. I think he's a great coach, and I don't think he deserved to be fired, but he's going to land at a new team, and whatever team ends up getting him, DeAndre, they're going to be in an amazing spot. I'd actually like to say they're probably going to be a playoff team next year, whoever that is.
Yeah, no, John Harbaugh is one of the top 5 coaches in the NFL. I think that was too quick of a reaction to fire him. Ravens fans, I know y'all fed up with not getting to the Super Bowl with Lamar specifically. John Harbaugh got y'all a Super Bowl. It's crazy to fire a Super Bowl winning head coach. It's happened before, but you guys had big expectations, and I just think of it like this. They wouldn't have fired him if they didn't lose that last game, of course, and to put it on Harbaugh for that, not to put it on the kicker as well, but a missed kick, that was the big difference in them making the playoffs, and it wasn't. So I think it was a mistake by the Ravens. You're trying to find a new coach that's going to be better than what you already had. Usually when you fire a coach, you're looking for somebody that's going to be better. Well, in this case, good luck with that.
You say good luck, but there actually is one candidate I really like for this opening here, and his name is Brian Flores. If we've taken a look at what he's done with the Vikings defensively this year, he has turned the Vikings around in their season slump and has brought them to a 9-8 record, albeit the Vikings are still eliminated from the playoffs. But Brian Flores has done a great job turning that team around and has shown himself to be a potential stud hire as a head coach going into this year. And given that, I feel like the coaching pool is a little shallow right now, especially between both college and NFL. I think he is the favorite to get the Ravens job at this time.
So
I've
you're not
also
worried
heard
about him being fired as a Miami Dolphins head coach previously?
So is that history. You are correct on that. And obviously he had that pass, but at the same time, you got to look at what he did with Minnesota. I mean, you can never dictate a person's future success based on their past. And I think that's a proven example with someone like Sam Darnold for just one example. And I mean, he's proven that he can do something with a team with the Vikings. And I think that given that the coaching pool is not necessarily loaded right now, the Ravens are a team that probably could poach a coach if they really wanted, if they threw enough money around. But I don't see it happening. I think Brian Flores is probably the most qualified candidate for the job at this time. And, I've actually heard some reports that Cliff Kingsbury might be in Baltimore as an offensive coordinator. And I think that's a phenomenal scenario with Lamar Jackson, as he's a very good OC. I actually don't think he deserved to be out of Washington, but that's a different debate.
Bring John Gruden to Baltimore. He gonna turn that team into the contenders. I mean, they already contenders, but he gonna make it pop, lock and drop in Baltimore. I want John Gruden back as a head coach. Call me crazy. He had his time in Oakland, man, but I watch his Gruden grinder stuff all the time, and this dude is a genius, man, and he's got that enthusiasm. And I think the attitude for Baltimore. You're a Ravens fan, so the coach and the players got to match the vibes of the city.
Absolutely. I think that John Gruden could embody the culture, as he's just a very popular guy with the fans. But at the same time, you really think he's going to leave Barstool? I mean, they're giving him a lot of money. Obviously, yes, it would be a head coaching job, but he's not going to have to. He does, but you got to look at where he's at right now. And I don't think he leaves his comfortability with Dave Portnoy under his branch to go back and do a stressful role of being a NFL head coach, regardless of your love for the game. And let alone, I don't think the Ravens would hire John Gruden. I think that it's a good hire on paper for like the Raiders or the Browns. I think I actually would love that hire, to be fair. But a team like the Ravens, I don't think they're going to settle for John Gruden, which I don't even know if that's settling. That's a debate in itself, but I don't see it happening.
Well, I just hope this is kind of what I think about the new head coaches. There's a lot of coaches that have gotten fired today,
Yep.
getting firing Monday, firing Tuesday, whatever you want to call it. I just want to see new coaches in the game. I'm tired of these recycled coaches that have had time and time again to have their chance in the spotlight. The NFL has this unspoken rule of 40 coaches being revolved around a door. You get a turn, you get a turn, you get a turn again and again and again. It's hard for somebody new to break through. You know what happens when new coaches come in the game that haven't been around. They got that extra spark, kind of like a Sean McVay
I was just going to
of
say, yeah.
recent memory. It's kind of like the Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel, as of recent memory, when he first got to the Dolphins, he had them on. So I think getting somebody that's fresh in the game that hasn't had a head coaching position is great for the game because I don't want to see. I'm just tired. I don't want to see a Kevin Stefanski or a Joe Brady or somebody who has been a head coach previously that has failed miserably at the job. I'm tired of it. I'm ready to see something new. No Vance Josephs. I don't want to see none of that, man. Give me somebody new or give me John Gruden.
So I agree with most of your take, but you did say something I don't agree with. You think Kevin Stefanski failed?
I think Kevin Stefanski made a mockery of his last season in Cleveland. I think he's not a bad head coach, but just how he handled the situation of drafting two quarterbacks, setting one up for failure, and openly making a mockery of the situation in general. There's no way that everybody's on a common ground of saying he's managing this poorly when it comes to former NFL players on their own podcasts, or current analysts. Everyone's saying he did a terrible job. Therefore, just because he got fired by the Browns means he should get another job just like that. I don't think so, man. Kevin Stefanski, he ain't it, man. I don't want to see him coaching the head. I don't want to see him coaching the head, being the head coach of a team, man. I can't see it.
So that's a hot take. I don't agree. I think Kevin Stefanski is going to be one of the first coaches to get a job, and I could see him especially landing at the Tennessee Titans.
Would you want him on
And
the Ravens?
not
No.
as a head coach. Not as a head
See?
coach.
See?
Okay,
That's what I'm
listen,
talking about.
I don't want Stefanski, but a team like the Titans getting a guy like Kevin Stefanski, I think it'd be a solid fit because I feel like he would be able to bring that program back up from prominence. I think he would be able to bring the right attitude into the locker room, which the previous coach was not able to do. He should have stayed at fucking Cincinnati. But, I believe that Stefanski is not as bad as you're making him out to be. But
Look,
here's a question for you, right? So with all these head coaching vacancies, let's count. We have the Arizona Cardinals, the Atlanta Falcons, the Cleveland Browns, the Tennessee Titans, the New York Giants. I think I'm missing the Ravens now. Is
you
that
said the
it?
Cardinals? You think the Cardinals? I think.
Cardinals lost Jonathan Gannon. That
You might
is, I believe that is all the head coach vacancies. I might be missing one. Oh, the
you might
Raiders.
the Raiders, yeah, the
Raiders. Yep.
Raiders.
Those are the 7 that are open. Pete Carroll got fired after a year. I actually don't agree with that one, but we'll talk about that later. So out of those 7, that's not a low number, especially for 32 teams in the league. Around a quarter of teams don't have a head coach currently. And we talked about pulling up talent or getting new talent in there. I'm really curious to see how this pans out because I feel like with a lot of these teams, especially the Falcons and especially a team like the Ravens, where they have talent, they have a good roster on paper. They just need the right dude to take over the job. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be exciting to see what happens, but I really don't have any guesses for who would be the right candidate, especially for the Falcons. Like the Ravens, I can at least piece something together in my head, given that, I understand the culture there a little better than I do in Atlanta. But when you have a team with arguably the top 5 most talented player in the NFL in Bijan Robinson, you have Drake London, who is a young stud receiver, and they have a good receiving room in general. I mean, Kyle Pitts has been solid this year. Darnell Mooney is no schmuck at all. And I feel like they have an okay line. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't horrible. The quarterback situation in Atlanta is definitely tricky. I think that Penix is not their guy. I think Kirk Cousins, and if you have not heard DeAndre, Kirk Cousins is actually in the process of restructuring his contract with Atlanta to a lower amount to stay in Atlanta next year.
Interesting.
I read that today. He wants to play the game of football. He wants to keep playing football. He wants to continue to start, which Kirk Cousins has shown flashes. I mean, hey, you watch that game against the Rams. He completely balled out against
So is Penix hurt? He's hurt, correct?
That's his thing. Is when healthy, he's okay, but is it like his injury history? It translated from college when he was at Washington and Indiana. The dude just can't stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean 3 ACL tears, I believe, and NFL. It just ain't been so far. And I was high on Penix. I thought Penix was him, but I don't know. I don't see it, man. I don't see it.
I wanted to support the pick, especially with it being so high, a lottery pick. But I think that this one backfired on the Falcons. Let's talk about another quarterback. I see your hat. You're wearing a Dolphins hat. What are your thoughts about Tua and Quinn Ewers over there in Miami?
Man, I'm just wearing this Dolphins hat because I was at the Orange Bowl this past weekend, and I always pick up merch from a place I go to, and the Dolphins hat is just something I picked up. I also
Tough hat, by the way. It is cool.
picked
I fuck with that.
picked yeah, they have a nice little team store. I picked up this as well. They were giving these out, these college football playoff scarves.
Oh, that's sick. That's tough.
So they're pretty dope. They had some for each team for their student sections as well. But I always just pick up things. I saw this was the coolest looking Dolphins hat they had, and I was like, let me just cop it. I'm not a Dolphins fan in any way, shape, or matter or form, but their colors are cool. This is real. I was in
Oh yeah.
Dominican Republic too, so I had to rock the white some way. Tua got to go. Tyreek, he needs to come back to the Chiefs. And Mike McDaniel, I like McDaniel. He seems like a good fit for the team, but they got to move on. And then Ewers, I mean, when quarterbacks come into play when the season's pretty much already over, I don't really judge rookie quarterbacks that hard, whether they do really good or really bad. It's a small sample size and no one has them on the scouting report, and it's their first year. But Ewers, look, we'll see what happens in training camp, and we'll see if he ends up winning the starting job next year. Don't know if they believe in him yet, but all I know is the Tua experiment is over with. It's time to be done. I think he can be a solid backup. I think he can still, be that veteran mentor for a young quarterback because he has had success. But it's time to move on, Miami. You know what you're getting with Tua. Tyreek ain't getting any younger. A-Chain ain't getting any younger. And it's just time to see what somebody else got. Who knows? Ewers could be that guy. We don't know.
We'll
So,
see. I want to have faith in Ewers. I mean, I feel like we've talked about this, but he should have stayed at Texas. He should have gotten his bag. But regardless, he's a starter
but
now.
he
So I
wouldn't have
guess
been
it's working
playing
out.
though.
What do you mean?
He wouldn't have been playing if he stayed at Texas. They told him basically they pulled a whole like you got to go because Arch is our guy, so he couldn't have stayed.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they was gonna let Archie Manning. They told him Archie Manning was starting for sure, so he either can transfer or go to the NFL, and he decided to go to the NFL.
Well, let's hope it works out for Quinn Ewers. But enough about the coach and speculation around the Dolphins. Let's get into our next topic. We're going to talk about the college football playoff. We have a really interesting slate in the Final Four.
It's the
And
Final
it's not
Four.
one I really saw happening at all, actually.
Yeah, facts, man. Facts. The college football playoff is round 2 is complete, and the results are concluded as of New Year's Day. We had Oregon beat Texas Tech 23-0. I was at the game. We can start with that one. Look, one thing, this is the first time I've been to the Orange Bowl. This is the first time I've been to the Dolphins Stadium. Hard Rock Stadium. It's terrible to get to. I'm just gonna say this. There's terrible parking. There's terrible infrastructure to get in and out, and it's in the middle of kind of its own little land, so there should be no problem and whatnot. But besides that fact, it was a really nice day out. The game was at 12 p.m. Eastern, so very early. Silly, because the game I was at the other week at Texas A&M Miami, that game was at 11 a.m. Central. So I don't know what's going on with these early games, but I think it's definitely having an effect on the games because clearly, like, both games were kind of low scoring games. But for the game itself, it was, I think, 3-0 at halftime. Very low scoring. I was falling asleep because it was early. I talked to the people before. There was a lot of Tech fans there. I think the ratio was maybe 70-30 Texas Tech. And, they was confident. They thought it was no big deal, but it's the higher seed curse at this point. So this was the first game of the day, and the day before Alabama lost to, or not Alabama, Miami beat Ohio State the night prior. So at this point, still no higher seeds have won. And I told Texas Tech fans, look, y'all might lose because of this curse. I don't believe in y'all. And they didn't believe it. And then all of a sudden, they was crashing out and leaving by the end of the third quarter. So this game was not the biggest entertainment. It was a defensive, powerhouse, defensive-minded game. Like nobody was scoring. But Oregon, I had them winning this game, and they came out on top, man. And they played James Madison first, and they played Texas Tech, who, let's be honest, like the Big 12 is weak. The best team they played was BYU all season. BYU's all right, but
But
yeah. Go
The
ahead.
problem with this is Texas Tech had one of the most expensive rosters in all of football this year.
Yeah, they were
Yes, they
talking about
might
that.
not have played in the strongest conference. I mean, it was certainly stronger than the ACC, in my opinion. Although it wasn't as strong as, I'd say, the top heavy Big Ten or the SEC as a whole. Texas Tech had an amazing team that looked like they were going to at least make the Final Four, the semifinals. And they shit the bed. I mean, they couldn't get anything going this game. I mean, the defense couldn't stop Oregon. And you kind of said it yourself, by halftime, fans are frustrated. I think that this game proved that no matter how expensive your roster is, no matter how good your coaching is, if you just don't have that it factor, if you don't have that spark lit under your team to just produce and go out there in a neutral game environment, and one of the biggest environments in all of college football being the Orange Bowl, you're not legit. And this has nothing to do with conference. I think this has something to do with Texas Tech and their culture, which congratulations to them on having the year they had. But do I really even mean that with how much money they dumped on their roster? You know, it's they put a lot of money into that team. And I feel like, yes, they made it pretty far, but that athletic director's got to be a little disappointed, at least a little.
Yeah, no, they have all that oil money down there, and they paid an arm, tooth, a leg, limbs, hearts, lungs, everything for that roster. And what do they have to show for it? 0 points in the college football playoff in their first playoff showing. Disappointment, Texas Tech. Y'all ain't wrecking nobody.
And
So
I've been getting a lot of videos recently of other creators at those games with this Texas Tech fans. And I've been getting this one guy who's been posting videos with the boosters, and they are all rich from oil. So when you said the oil money, it's not false. Like most of their boosters, most of that roster, most of that team is coming from oil money. And it feels like a waste. I mean, I wanted to see Texas Tech beat Oregon. I was rooting for them. I think it would be cool to have seen them succeed. But you know what the better success story is of this round? In fact, my favorite success story of the year, given the circumstance in Oxford, Mississippi, Ole Miss beating Georgia in the fashion that they beat them as well. What a game, DeAndre. I was watching that game and I thought Georgia was going to, no pun intended, dog walk Ole Miss. But
same.
Pete Golding proved he's that motherfucking guy.
Yeah. Yep.
They held into the end and they came up clutch. Trinidad Chambliss clutched up when it mattered most. This team is special. And Lane Kiffin just got the biggest middle finger to the face that I think he's probably ever gotten.
Yep. Shout out Ole Miss, man. Ole Miss, y'all did that. I didn't get to watch the whole game because I was getting back from the game and whatnot, but I saw the second half and I was weirdly watching. My TV in my hotel had the Georgia broadcast on with their commentators. And so it was obviously biased, and they were just mouths were closed like the last 4 quarters or the last quarter. They had nothing to say. Chambliss came in and took over. Like you, Jake, I thought Georgia was going to steamroll them. I thought it wasn't even going to be a contest because one, it's Georgia, and two, Ole Miss ain't got their coach, But Ole Miss is showing like, look,
Well,
Lane might have
they
been.
have their coach. They have their coach now.
Oh, they got their coach now.
Yeah. I mean, Pete Golding came in, took over, and to your point, he's proven everyone wrong. I mean, this is the best success story of the year, especially given the drama, the narratives, the team culture that almost just completely fell apart. But no, it's holding together under Pete Golding. And if you've been paying attention to the transfer portal, DeAndre, Kawan Lacey, Trinidad Chambliss, they're returning next year. Trinidad, assuming he gets eligibility permitted. But this team is building something special, and they're 2 wins away from getting a natty.
Yeah.
Congratulations to them. Like I love
Yeah.
this.
It's great, man.
I'm not the biggest Ole Miss fan, I would say. I never hated Ole Miss. It's not my favorite SEC team, but I'd love to see them win, especially given their script of how things have turned. I think it was an awesome game. It was definitely the closest and most electric game I watched in this round of the college football playoff. But the other game that completely blew everyone's head off, and I was texting you about this on New Year's Eve, Miami, Florida, my beloved Hurricanes, one of the ACC teams I root for is my grandpa went there, right? And I know it's very loose hanging. I mean, you see the Cardinal bird back here. I go to Louisville. So that's a questionable statement, but I stand by it. I try. They knocked off the number 2 Ohio State Buckeyes, 24-14 in what was a horrendous showing for Ohio State and a prove it game from Miami, proving to the committee, proving to the fans that maybe they are not as bad and as washed as everyone was saying. And hey, I'm a Carson Beck hater. I don't like Carson Beck. But after that, they got my respect.
All I gotta say is Ruben Bain Jr.,
Oh,
man.
that
That
guy's
dude is a
disgusting.
dog. That
He's a
dude
dog.
is a dog. I mean, watching him play Texas A&M, I'm like, this dude is crazy. Every time a play was made, I heard his name being called, and he did the same thing to Ohio State. And this was easily the biggest upset of the entire tournament so
Oh
far.
yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, nobody except Miami fans are picking Miami to make it to the Final Four.
No one.
And nobody, like,
Nobody. No one.
nobody. You went to Miami, sure, cool, but nobody outside of that, if you had to put your bread on it. So, like,
No.
it's a great thing. I love that they knocked off Ohio State. I'm tired of seeing the same teams in the Final Four, whether that be a Georgia and Alabama, Ohio State, a Michigan, Clemson. Those teams, y'all had y'all time, but I like the best thing that we can have in sports is parity, I think. That's why the NFL is the most popular sport because we get parity. That's why
We saw a lot of that
baseball,
this year.
yeah, I won't say baseball that much right now, but NFL, I'll see with the
Yeah,
NFL.
not baseball, not baseball. But the NFL had an amazing amount of parity this year. College football is definitely a more top-heavy sport,
Yeah,
but this is the first Final Four in the college football playoff era, and even when they had a 4-team playoff where we don't see an Alabama, we don't see an Ohio State, we don't see a Georgia. 2 of the 4 of these teams have never won a national championship, ever.
Indiana and Oregon, I believe, right?
2 Big Ten teams, yeah.
Yep.
And what
So
makes this really exciting is that there's just a way higher stake for every one of these teams. I mean, Indiana winning the Natty, and we'll talk about the Indiana game in a minute. We're not going to talk too much on it because holy crap, what an embarrassment for Alabama. But Indiana bringing a chip back to Bloomington would change a lot of things in the Big Ten. A ton of dynamic changes would instantly solidify Indiana from a historically irrelevant football program to
X.
a great football program. And they already are as of recent. I mean, Kurt Signetti is that guy. I mean, he's
Oh
him.
yeah. Shout
And
out
he's a
Kurt,
baller.
man.
Shout
He's a
out
real one.
Kurt Signetti,
If
Mr.
Indiana wins
Marlboro
that
himself.
national championship, I'll be at the parade, coach. You gonna see me there.
I'm going to try. But the final game we need to cover before I get back on my outlook on the college football playoff, and we'll do some predictions, is Alabama, Indiana. Roll Tide, not. No. 38-3. Indiana
Woo.
steamrolled Alabama. Ty Simpson could not get the ball rolling this game. The defense couldn't stop Fernando Mendoza, and Kalen DeBoer's seat is officially hot.
It's hot, man. It's hot on the kitchen stove, man. The fire alarm is going off, and the sprinklers aren't coming. So I don't know what's going on with Alabama, but definitely that Saban effect is trickling and trickling and trickling, and that statue is getting a bigger aura as we speak. Man, Alabama, y'all thought y'all couldn't be victimized like this. Y'all thought y'all had it sweet, man. I didn't have them winning, but I definitely had them covering. And boy, BTA from start to finish. They was talking Mendoza ain't him. He ain't played nobody. He's had most of his touchdowns against weak teams. Y'all can't talk to somebody like Mendoza.
Nope.
Mendoza kind of got, I ain't gonna, he's gonna sound crazy. He got a little bit of that Brady aura to him. Just a little bit. He got a little bit to it. Just a little bit.
Indiana owns Alabama as of right now. I don't really care about the history. I mean, yes, I mean, it matters. But in the current context, Indiana has just completely stomped in the tide, and things in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Lubbock, Texas are in shambles. Just complete chaos. I mean, hey, man, you have basketball. I mean, hey, Texas, and Alabama have both great teams, and we'll cover
Yeah.
college basketball soon. But it's just, it's extremely shocking, to say the least, to watch both of these teams with amazing rosters, Heisman candidates on both sides of the ball for each team, and to just see them lose to Indiana and to lose to Oregon. Oregon, not as surprising, but Indiana, it's just, no one could have ever guessed this 2 years ago. Nobody.
Man, Indiana is
And
popping.
something I want to ask you is, if DeBoer gets fired, do you even see another head coach that's worthy of replacing him? Because the thing with Alabama, DeAndre, is it is one of the few programs in football, with Ohio State and Indiana, I'd actually argue to say probably the highest of this echelon, that this team commands success every year at a level that is not even remotely humane. It is
It's
the standards are
yeah.
that high.
It's crazy. I don't think they should fire Signetti. I mean, he made the college football playoff. He won a game
You
going
mean
on a
DeBoer?
on DeBoer, sorry. What did I say?
No, you're
Did I
good.
say Stefanski?
No, you said Signetti.
Sorry,
If they
Stefanski.
fired Signetti, the city of Bloomington would go
Yeah,
up in flames.
They rioting. DeBoer, I think he definitely shouldn't be fired. He had a quality season for Bama. Look, Nick Saban didn't win a title his first 2 years at Bama when he was there either. He won it his third year. You got to give him some time. You know, Alabama, have patience. You got a quality coach with you. He's getting you on the right track. You can't expect somebody to come in and replace the GOAT. Just like New England when they lost Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, they were in shambles for a few years. All right. And it's going to be like that. When the Chiefs, we lose Mahomes and Andy Reid, we going to be bad for a while, a little bit. And it's okay. So just take your time. You'll be all right. Now, if he didn't make the college football playoff and y'all then maybe, you know, he's still Bam at the end of the day. But he made y'all to the playoffs. He won a game. You going against the number one team. So I don't think he should. He did what he could. He wasn't favored to win this game anyways. You can't fire a coach that wasn't favored to win the game, in my opinion, unless you know the team fell up completely in shambles, which they did, I guess. But they won a game. So I think you got to give him some time, man. Don't quit. Stop hiring and firing these coaches. Alabama, y'all got a good one. Just be patient.
I do agree, but you did say something which I'm going to use against you here. It is year 3 for DeBoer. It is year 3.
This is gonna be his third year, right? Like he's
Yep.
gonna be third.
So
So next year,
this
like,
is
look,
this is the year that really is going to
but
determine whether DeBoer is legit or not.
I,
To your benefit.
all I'm gonna say is you can't compare him to Saban. Saban
Oh
one
my
year,
God, no.
Saban won year 3, sure, but that's Saban. Like if DeBoer doesn't win in year 3 or year 4, but he gets y'all to the playoffs, that's good. Like not everybody makes the playoffs, okay? Like I'm just saying, y'all just if he don't get y'all to the playoffs maybe 2 years in a row, then maybe you can have that conversation. But if he's still getting y'all to the playoffs, you should not be fired. Point blank
I
period.
agree. I do agree. I mean, hey, I am still shocked that James Franklin is still not at Penn State, especially after the performance they've had last year. It's a little bit of a different scenario, but I'm going to ask you a question. Our final thing we'll talk about with college before we roll into the NFL. Pre-game, we'll call it, as we just had week 18 fall upon us. A very important week. We have 2 more bowl games before the college football championship. We have the Peach Bowl, which is Oregon and Indiana, and we have the Fiesta Bowl with Miami and Ole Miss. 2 phenomenal matchups. DeAndre, what are your predictions for these games?
It's a cool matchup, man. Something we don't usually get to see in college football. But with the Oregon Indiana game, I was actually supposed to be at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, but I had to change plans, sadly, and I will not be at the game as of now. Things could change again, but as of now, I won't be at the game. But after watching Oregon live, I've seen them play twice this year. They've won both games. I haven't seen Indiana play live, but you know they're undefeated. I'm gonna have to go Indiana, man. Oregon, I like Dante Moore. I like Ruben Bain. I like Malachi Tony. I've lost a bet. I gotta get a jersey, a Malachi Tony jersey, but I'm not betting against Mendoza right now. I can't do it. He's on the winner's circle. Emphasis on the circle.
Ruben Bain is a Miami Hurricane. I think Malachi Tony is also a Miami Hurricane. But Dante Moore, going off of your point, I feel like the problem with this matchup is, listen, and Oregon's a great team. Oregon has many good talents on this team, and I do like Dante Moore. I think he's been a pretty solid quarterback this year. Actually, not even pretty solid. He's been pretty damn good. But against this Indiana defense, who has just been, Indiana is the hottest team in college football right now. Let me just start with that. And Fernando Mendoza's been on a tear. They have just been steamrolling their way through the year. I don't see that stopping. I think Indiana goes all the way, which I'm not going to give my college football championship prediction this time. We're going to do that next episode after these games happen. But Indiana looks to be the favorite in my eyes here. I do agree with you. The Fiesta Bowl on the other side, we have the way more difficult matchup to determine. 2 underdogs that ended up near the top. And Indiana's the only seed above 4 to still be in the playoff. Oregon's a 5 seed. Ole Miss is a 6 seed, and Miami's a 10 seed. That is crazy, by the way.
Wow,
I
Mark
feel
Twain.
like this game is definitely going to be the more entertaining game, as I feel like that this Oregon-Indiana game will be close, but these teams kind of have a similar roster construction in a lot of ways. But this Ole Miss Miami game, given the stories of these players, the narrative behind the teams, the coaches, the players, crystal ball versus the newly stepped up Pete Golding, Carson Beck versus the Ole Miss defense, and then the former Division II to Ole Miss quarterback, who, by the way, I love his story, Trinidad Chambliss, to Ole Miss against that Miami defense, which is stellar. I think this is the game to watch. And my prediction, I think Ole Miss takes it. I think Pete Golding has this aura, this confidence, this flair that he will carry with him to the championship. And I think that they win against Miami. I don't think they steamroll Miami, but I think they beat Miami in a close ball game where Miami does everything they can. Carson Beck actually, I think, plays well in this game, although Miami, and I have mixed feelings with Carson Beck, I said earlier. I think he does well this game, but I think that this Ole Miss team just has that momentum, man. I think they roll through.
Ole Miss, Miami. Miami is hosting the national championship this year. All routes point to Miami, but Ole Miss, they got that aura they got the biggest aura right now, I think, outside of Mendoza individually. As a
Yeah.
team, I think Ole Miss has, the whole world in the country rooting for them basically because of, Lane Kiffin and whatnot. But I got to go with Miami on this one, man. I just think
Really?
that
Ooh, clash.
Miami, they've been proving people wrong. They've proved me wrong. They've proved everyone else wrong. I like what I see with the team. They have a more complete team than what I initially thought they did because of the ACC. It's a weak conference, this, that, and the third. Ole Miss, look, I'll just say Ole Miss, they let up a lot of points versus Georgia. Miami kept Ohio State to 14 points. They kept Texas A&M to 3 points. That defense, defense still wins championships. And I think the better defensive teams, Indiana and Miami, are going to go to the national championship and duke it out. So I'm going to give it to Miami. I don't think they're going to beat Indiana, but I definitely think they're going to take Ole Miss and put them to the ground.
I don't think they're going to beat Ole Miss, but I do respect your argument of championships are won with defenses. Miami does have a great defense. Ole Miss also has a good defense. Clearly, I mean, yes, they gave up all those points to Georgia, but it's also Georgia, run by Kirby Smart, one of the greatest offensive minds in football.
It
And
was
with a
Ohio
gunner's
State, though. They kept Ohio State to 10 points or 14 points. Jeremiah Smith, saying Tate, like
yeah,
that's
well,
some work. Ohio State got one of the best offenses in the country. Who's got a better offense, Georgia or Ohio State? No
it's close.
debate.
It's close.
So
I argue it's close. But
it's
so
close.
those are our predictions. And regardless, the next time we are on this show, we will be discussing the college football semifinal results. I think no one saw this type of matchup coming, and it was a successful year for the man who roots for the underdog, which is me. I love underdogs, and I am so thrilled that this year has just been filled with upsets and stories and narratives. Makes for great content and makes for a
Needed it.
fun story to follow along with. Speaking
Needed it.
of postseason sports, let's move right along to the pro side of things. Let's take a look at week 18 of the NFL, DeAndre. Is there a game in particular you thought was important this week that you want to go over before I rattle off the not so important ones and go over the ones I thought were important?
I think the biggest game of the week, well, I guess it was combination of two games, which was funny, was the Panthers and the Bucks. The Bucks beat the Panthers as I predicted they would. I don't believe in Bryce Young, but the Panthers got lucky and, Christmas came late for them, I suppose, and they got a gift wrap present from the Falcons beating the Saints, and they lumped their way into the playoffs. I root for the Panthers. If y'all don't know, I'm a long supporter of the Panthers. I was born in Carolina, and I watched this team very closely. And this game was very hard to watch. It was not.
Oh, yeah.
It was a sloppy game. Both teams
Gross.
looked like they were trying to give the game away to the other team, and the Bucks came out with the win, and it was just kind of pathetic with both teams having to rely on one other team to win for them to make the playoffs. I thought they both don't deserve to make the playoffs, but that's a story for another day. And it was the most intriguing thing, I think, because multiple games mattered on who would make the playoffs. I mean, I don't even know how the Falcons and Saints felt because they were fighting for their division opponents with, for, against. I don't know who. The Carolina Falcons and the Tampa Bay Saints. So I thought they should have switched team colors for these games, put the other team's colors on their back. But that was my take on that.
Just should have been another rematch at that point. But you want to know a really intriguing stat about this story here is that both of these games, the point differential between both teams was 2 points. The Panthers lost to the Buccaneers by 2 points. and the Saints lost to the Falcons by 2 points. Crazy little unique
Man.
stat there. But I feel like the Falcons Saints game ended up holding a lot more weight than people anticipated it would just a week ago. And I think if we're going to break down these games, and we'll keep it relatively quick, Bryce Young and the Panthers did not look great, but Baker and the Bucks didn't look great either. They won in a very ugly, sloppy game. Well, I would say congratulations to winning, but you're out of the playoffs, so is it really a congratulations? The Saints Falcons game was something that I was interested to see, as my former Louisville quarterback, Tyler Shuck, has been on a tear as of late, completely dominating for the Saints, doing more with less. And yes, the Saints are 7-10, but given how their season has went, this has been a complete turnaround and a amazing story from Tyler Shuck. I thought they were going to beat the Falcons. I really did, but Kirk Cousins does it again. And the Falcons gained nothing from this. Actually, they lost the head coach at the result of this game. Raheem Morris is now gone. I don't think he gets another job. But the Falcons have brought the Panthers to the NFC South champion for this year. And whether you agree with it or not, I hate to say it, but it's the truth. And it's the end result as well. I feel like the Panthers are probably a first round exit. Actually, not probably. They are a first round exit against the
They could
Rams.
surprise. They already beat the Rams once this season, coach. We don't know what's going to happen.
You are right. And this is a home game for Carolina, may I add. Anything is possible, but these Rams, they are hungry, especially after losing to the Falcons as well. The NFC South has a number on the Rams this year. Weird situation. But I think Matthew Stafford comes into that game and gets hungry, man. Speaking of the Rams, they played the Cardinals. They walloped them 37-20. Shout out to Jacoby Brissett for hanging the team in there, but not too much. We're going to speak on that game. Didn't really do much for the Rams. Jags completely demolished the Titans. There would have been some implications and seeding changes if the Titans won that game, but no one saw that happening, and clearly the result indicated that. Giants Cowboys, in my opinion, was a not important game. If I say not important game, it pretty much just means there's really only draft capital or draft positioning at stake here, which is important to fans. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's important for the playoff picture. We won't be talking about it much. Same scenario with the Chiefs Raiders. Same scenario with the Browns Bengals. Colts, Texans, similar situation as the Texans were already in. Colts were already eliminated. Texans seeding could have changed a little bit. The Seahawks 49ers, though, is a game I think that was very important. And we're going to talk about that right now. That was the other Saturday game. And that was arguably the more defensive masterclass that I think we wanted to see that day. Brock Purdy did not play great, and they only had 3 points. The Seahawks didn't play amazing. I mean, Sam Darnold didn't necessarily have the best day, but these are two elite defenses. 49ers when healthy, of course, and the Seahawks arguably have the top defense in the NFL this year, them and maybe Houston. So what were your thoughts on this game, DeAndre?
This game was rough and tough. They both was fighting for that number one spot. Shout out Ludacris. And, Christian McCaffrey was the big note away from this game, man, for me. He had 8 carries for 23 yards. That's crazy. That's insane to me. I don't know what was going on with San Francisco this game, not giving their best player the ball. Best receiver was Jawan Jennings for 35 yards. I mean, I don't know what happened to the offense. Seattle's offense wasn't that much better, but they still put up good numbers. Smith and Jigba still had 84 yards and Walker still had 97. So San Francisco, y'all limping in. Y'all got a 12-5 record. That's still quality, but man, what is going on? The identity is lost right now. The identity ain't there.
The identity is injuries. The San Francisco 49ers are not fully healthy. C-Mac with 23 yards on 8 carries is straight criminal. Jawan Jennings being your leading receiver should have been Kittle, but I don't think it was. K9, shout out to him, had almost a 100-yard day. Much needed for that guy. The Seahawks just keep rolling, though. The Seahawks are, I think, deservedly the number 1 seed, and I'd love to see Sam Darnold get a ring, my man. I'm a big Sam Darnold fan. I'm a big Sam Darnold supporter. I would be happy if the Seahawks won the Super Bowl at this point, because my dear beloved Ravens are out. I made videos on that. Go check it out on my channel, Jacob Gino TV. But taking a look at these other games, we had, in terms of other important games, Commanders, Eagles, which the Commanders actually won, by the way. Crazy enough. Doesn't really change anything for the Eagles. It might change seating positioning, but At the end of the day, the Eagles were still in. The NFC East is extremely weak this year. Lions Bears was an interesting game. The Lions are 2-0 against the Bears this year, which I think gives a bigger message about the Bears and the Lions. Besides the narrative that this might just be because Ben Johnson versus Dan Campbell. Okay, yeah, that's kind of that's an interesting situation there. But regardless, Bears are still in, Lions are still out. The Broncos and Chargers game, Chargers looked like not great, but then again, I'm pretty sure this game they sat their starters. Chargers were already in, so they won their division. But no, they didn't. They were the number 2 though, and they were very good. Broncos won that division. Whoops. Bills Jets just exemplifies how terrible the Jets really are. Congrats to the Bills. And then the Colts Texans game was close, which is a little bit of a red flag for Texans fans. And the Texans, I think, are going to completely demolish the Pittsburgh Steelers. I really hope they do. I cannot stand the Steelers. But this game ended 38-30, and they moved on. The final game I wanted to talk about that was extremely important and completely soul crushing to me was the Ravens Steelers.
What's going on, man? You all right? You've been hanging in
No,
there last.
not really. I went to the bar with my good pal to watch the game. I was in my Lamar Jackson jersey, and I was surrounded by Steelers fans. I ended up staying 40 minutes in this bar past closing, and the whole game was not great, but we held in there, and I thought we really had it, especially when Chris Boswell butchered the hell out of that extra point. In that moment, I was like, oh my God, we have all of our timeouts. We have a healthy Lamar. We have a team, a Zay Flowers that's playing well today, a Derrick Henry that was playing solid, although he wasn't utilized nearly enough in the second half, but that's besides the point. We had a team that looked good, hungry to get into the playoffs and repeat what they did years before when they slipped into the wild card and caused some noise. But no. Instead, what happens is we have a final drive of the game with under a minute left. Lamar does Lamar Jackson things and creates an amazing pass to Isaiah Likely, which, by the way, he completely just dicked on the Steelers defense and made Lamar look like the MVP candidate that he is every year, although injuries got him this year, but my point being Lamar's amazing. And this is where we talk the depression of this game, the depressing stuff. And I did make a video about Tyler Loop very recently.
Shout out Tyler Loop.
No, do not shout out Tyler Loop. That is the problem here. All I'm gonna say is, listen, I was very harsh on him in my video. He's a rookie, and if he is the Ravens kicker moving forward, I hope to God he gets consistent and is able to thrive in these moments where Justin Tucker would have thrived. But
y'all ran him out of town, man. Y'all can't even blame Tyler Loop.
We did, but when you have a PR case against you like that, we're not going to talk about what he did, but most viewers know. But we need a veteran kicker in for Tyler Loop. He needs to develop and learn a little more for a year. I think they need to bring in Young Hoo Ko or Matt Prater or something.
But he wasn't good this past year either. He lost his job. You want cool?
But when you set up a ball on the 40-yard line, 30-yard line, and it's a 40-yard kick, you're basically given the kick, right? Set up for you. It's not a 50-yard. It's not the logo. No. Great catch, great field position. Lamar literally took the play, liked it to in the center to get it centered for Tyler Loop, and then it goes right. The pain that I felt watching that play was utterly crushing. Once we saw it miss, me and my friend, we got up, we left the bar, silent car ride home.
Y'all left right after the game?
Right as the kick missed, we got up and left. Damn. We already paid our tab. Don't worry, we're not thieves. But it was a extremely depressing sight. Granted, there are more problems with this team than Tyler Loop. I know this. Obviously, there's problems in the coaching. Lamar couldn't stay healthy all year, which that sucks. The players have had their moments. Zay Flowers, Derrick Henry. We'll be back next year. But what a depressing end for the Ravens. And with that was week 18, a very hectic week in the NFL. I feel like this was definitely the most exciting week 18 we've had in quite a few years. Yeah. Last year, I didn't really think it was that crazy. And I think this year was definitely a nice switch up. And it felt like this week 18 mattered when normally it's a week where I would say more than 50% of their teams are pretty much already locked in and are sitting their starters. I really enjoyed watching these games, regardless of my Ravens choking the hell out of this in Pittsburgh. How dare you give me the Reggie Miller?
Shout out Skip Bayless. Shout out Skip Bayless, man.
I mean, like literally just, I'm just done, man. I am now an honorary Jaguars fan for the rest of the year. Go Jags. Let's see them win a Super Bowl. I'd love to see T Law and Liam Cohen thrive in the postseason. It's probably not going to happen, but we could stay optimistic.
It could
So
happen. It could happen.
it could happen. It really could. It really could. But going forward, the stage is set. Are you going to any of these games?
In fact, I will be at some of these games. So
Which
the
ones?
plan right now is to make it to Chicago, Green Bay. You know, Chicago ain't hosted a playoff game in a long time, and I
Oof.
think that's going to be one of the best environment. Probably the best environment of the first round, I'd say, just because they have been in a drought for the longest. And that's on Saturday night, and then I also plan on getting to Philly because I was at all the Philly games
Mm.
last year. I got to continue that trend, but Philly, San Francisco, I think that's one of the best games in the first round as well. So I think both those teams are contenders, and I don't think Green Bay's a contender. I don't really think Chicago's a contender either, but I think those atmosphere of the games is going to be lit. So those two, and then possibly the Steelers. Possibly, we'll see how I'm feeling that day. Possibly.
I think going into this round, the Bears Packers game is going to be the most electric game of the year, especially in Chicago. And I would like to make the claim that the Bears Packers is the most heated rivalry in football.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
is. I think even past other rounds, this is going to be the most exciting game. And this is the only matchup where I think we're going to touch on here in terms of future. I wanted to see what games you're going to, but we're going to let these matchups play out and we'll talk about them next time. But this Bears Packers matchup, I think either of these teams can actually make a push for the division title. And I think in particular, the Bears, if they win the NFC, excuse me, a Super Bowl is not off the table for Chicago. The Packers are not completely healthy, but they are a team that is well coached. Jordan Love is not a bad quarterback. Actually, I think he's pretty good. He has had some stinkers, but then again, so is Caleb Williams. The Chicago defense has been great, but so is the Green Bay defense. Actually, well, the Green Bay defense has not been that great as of late. That is actually very true. Micah Parsons, I don't know if he's still injured for this game. They did just get Trevion Diggs off of waivers, which that is insane, by the way. I cannot believe the Cowboys cut him, regardless of performance. That's a former pro, all pro, I'm pretty sure. I am just very surprised with this matchup, and I'm kind of interested to see how this one really pans out. I got a lot of Packers fans that I'm friends with, a lot of Bears fans that I'm friends with. I'm sure I'm not going to hear the end of it for a very long time. This is going to be the most electric environment of the wild card for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you're right about that, and I'm excited to see the rest. But I don't think neither of these teams, just, we don't have to go through all of them, but just a quick synopsis for me, how I operate with the playoffs is I don't see a team with a quarterback who is his first year in the playoffs I'll say winning the Super Bowl. It hasn't happened. I think it's only happened twice for first time, and I think Joe Montana might have been one, and I think Brady, but I could be wrong about that. But their first time making the playoffs. So but
Okay.
it's only been like two or three, not rookies, but just the first time making it. So we can go through Bo
Mahomes isn't
Nix.
on that list?
Mahomes, he didn't make the Super Bowl his first time. Yeah, he lost to the Patriots his first
Mm,
year getting there in the AFC
okay.
Championship game when D4 jumped off sides. But we ain't gonna talk about that. Denver, Bo Nix, first time in the playoffs. Josh Allen's made it. Justin Herbert's made it before. Trevor Lawrence has made it before. CJ Stroud has made it before. Aaron Rodgers has made it before. I think the only team at the AFC that's not for sure winning the Super Bowl is the Broncos, and then the NFC side.
Wait, the Patriots. Drake May?
Oh, Drake May, sorry, and Drake May. I don't think the Patriots
Mm,
or the Broncos are winning the Super Bowl or
I don't
making
think so either.
they. I don't think so either. I
Overrated.
think
Both are
definitely
overrated.
100%. And I think on the NFC side, Sam Darnold, I like him a lot to get to the Super Bowl and win it. Matt Stafford has already won the Super Bowl, but Bryce Young ain't winning the Super Bowl. Caleb Young ain't winning the Super Bowl, and that's it. Those teams I named, those four teams: the Panthers, the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Bears are not winning a Super Bowl this year. So I'm sorry, y'all. All those cities, it's not happening.
We'll come back to that statement in the future and we will see if it holds true. Regardless, I think we have a very exciting postseason upon us in an NFL season that has had the most parity that we have seen in a very long time, and teams making it to the top that we didn't expect coming into the year. Circa the Bears, the Jags, the Patriots. Nobody saw these teams being amazing. Patriots,
Yeah.
depending on who you talk to, but I think is the most interesting playoff picture we've had in quite some time. And to not see a Kansas City Chiefs be the clear favorite, sorry to knock your team, is honestly pretty nice. It's a switch up.
No, no, no. I don't know about nice, but I respect everyone getting a break from the Chiefs. I know y'all's tired of seeing that red all over the place, but it's okay. Have fun this year. There's no red in the playoffs this year, unfortunately. But
Before you
that's your off red, I guess. Maroon. We ain't real red, you know. We the real red team. But quickly, I will just pick my winners for the first round. I think Buffalo beats Jacksonville. I think the
know,
Chargers beat New England. I think Houston beats Pittsburgh. I think the Rams beat the Panthers, but the Panthers cover. I think Chicago beats Green Bay, and I think Philly beats San Francisco.
interesting lineup you have there. I'll rattle mine off fast. Texans completely steamroll the Steelers in Pittsburgh. The 49ers lose to the Eagles at home for Philly. The Bears slip by the Packers in a close game. The Rams beat the Panthers, no, wallop the Panthers in Carolina. This is the take I do disagree with you on. I think the Jaguars beat the Buffalo Bills. I think the Jaguars are going to see some good success this year in the postseason. And I believe that the Patriots beat the Chargers, although that one will be a close game.
I don't, a lot of close matchups. Well, a lot of blowouts too, apparently, but a lot of good matchups. So, well, I'm excited to see the games this weekend. I'm real excited. It's about time. Playoffs times. There's nothing like it, man. There's nothing like the NFL playoffs. It still trumps
I'm
college football playoffs.
I agree. It's the greatest time of the year. I've always been more of an NFL playoff guy than a CFP guy, but at the same time, they both hold their weight. But that's going to wrap it up for this episode, right under an hour. This was Thoughts and Takes brought to you by yours truly, Jacob.
And
And
DeAndre in the building. You already know what time it is out here, y'all.
we want to thank you guys for viewing. Be sure to check out our channels and like and subscribe, comment in the comments, and engage with us. Until next time.
Until next time, y'all. Peace, blessings.